Most men think intelligence is about having answers. It's not. It's about knowing what to hide. You see, the real danger of intelligence isn't knowledge, it's awareness. The moment you start seeing through people's masks, through their fake smiles and hollow compliments, the world stops being peaceful. It becomes transparent, and that transparency is terrifying. You'll start realizing how easily men are controlled, how governments distract, how relationships manipulate, how every truth you were taught was just someone else's illusion, designed to keep you compliant. That's why most people don't want to be smart. They want comfort, not clarity, because clarity demands accountability. It demands that you face the parts of yourself you've been lying to. But here's the paradox. Once you start thinking like Machiavelli, you can't go back. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop speaking carelessly. You start seeing every situation as a chessboard and every human as a potential move. You'll understand that morality is flexible, truth is negotiable, and silence can be the loudest statement in the room. You'll begin to notice who's leading and who's pretending. And when that happens, people will start to fear you, not because you're cruel, but because they can no longer read you. This video will not make you smarter, it will make you dangerous, because the most powerful man in any room isn't the loudest. It's the one who knows exactly what not to say. So if you're ready to stop thinking like everyone else and start seeing like Machiavelli, stay till the end. And if this message hits something inside you, subscribe, because I'm just getting started. 1. Intelligence is a weapon, not a gift. Most people grow up believing intelligence is a blessing, something to show off, something to be admired for. But that's exactly how the world keeps smart men harmless. Society teaches you to use your mind like a trophy instead of a sword. You chase validation through how clever you sound, how deep your thoughts seem, or how many facts you can recite. But real intelligence was never meant to be performative. It was meant to be strategic. A sharp mind isn't for applause. It's for survival. It's for reading people faster than they can hide their intentions. It's for seeing manipulation before it unfolds. It's for shaping outcomes silently while others are still arguing emotionally. You think intelligence is about answers, but Machiavelli knew better. He understood it's about control. Control of perception, control of timing, control of information. That's what makes intelligence dangerous. Because the moment you realize you can bend situations, not through strength, not through status, but through psychology, you stop playing fair. Here's what separates ordinary smart men from strategists. The ordinary man uses knowledge to be liked. The strategist uses it to predict, influence, and dominate. You ever notice how the loudest people in a room crave to prove how smart they are? They argue, they correct, they explain, all to feed their ego. But the silent one, the one who listens more than he speaks, that's the one shaping the game. Because he's not reacting, he's collecting. Real intelligence is about patience disguised as stillness. It's the ability to stay calm while others reveal their cards. You observe their tone, their inconsistencies, their emotions, and then you act with precision. That's not luck. That's calculated power. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't weaponize your mind until you stop needing people to understand you. Because intelligence, once understood by everyone, loses its edge. If they can predict you, they can neutralize you. That's why Machiavellian intelligence thrives in ambiguity. It hides behind simplicity. The wise man lets fools underestimate him. He lets others think he's passive, quiet, even naive, because he knows perception is camouflage. And when the time comes, he strikes with knowledge that dismantles empires in a single sentence. That's the level of intellect that doesn't seek applause, it seeks advantage. You stop using words to impress. You start using silence to expose. You stop trying to win debates. You start winning outcomes. Look around. The people who truly run the world, the CEOs, the politicians, the strategists, they don't flaunt intelligence. They apply it. They understand that intelligence is influence disguised as humility. It's knowing when to act dumb so others reveal too much. It's knowing when to agree so you can reposition quietly. It's knowing that the less you speak, the more people project their weakness onto your silence. So ask yourself, are you using your mind to impress others or to understand them? Do you use your intelligence to look clever or to move in silence while others expose their plans? Because if your intellect doesn't give you power over your emotions, your time, and your environment, it's just decoration, a weapon still sheathed. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." That's not about speed. It's about clarity. It means the intelligent man doesn't wait for permission. He observes, decides, and moves before the world even realizes what he's doing. You become dangerous not when you learn more, but when you start using what you already know with precision. That's when your intelligence stops being a gift and becomes a weapon. Because true intelligence isn't meant to fit in. It's meant to quietly take control of everything others think they're running. 2. Truth is a tool, not a moral duty. We're taught from childhood that honesty is sacred, that truth is a virtue, that lies make you evil. But look closely at the world that teaches you that, and tell me who actually lives by it. Politicians lie to maintain order. Leaders lie to preserve power. Even parents lie to protect their children. The truth? Honesty is not a moral duty, it's a tool. And like any tool, its value depends entirely on how and when you use it. The naive man thinks truth has moral value in itself. He believes telling the truth makes him good. But the Machiavellian mind knows this. Truth without strategy is self-sabotage. It's handing your enemies your battle plan and calling it virtue. A man who tells the truth at all times is not righteous. He's predictable. And predictable men are powerless. Understand this. Morality is a social illusion built to control behavior. The powerful follow results, not ideals. They lie when it strengthens their position. They tell the truth when it earns trust. Either way, every word is a move, not a confession. The world runs on perception, not purity. That's why a well-placed lie can build an empire, while blind honesty can destroy one. Look at history. Every ruler, general, and strategist who won great wars did so by mastering deception. Sun Tzu said, all warfare is based on deception, and Machiavelli simply adapted that to politics. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. He wasn't advocating chaos. He was teaching realism. Because in the real world, telling the truth to the wrong person at the wrong time isn't moral. It's suicidal. Here's the uncomfortable part. People don't actually want truth. They want the version of truth that maintains their comfort. Expose their illusion and you'll be labeled cruel. Protect their illusion and you'll be celebrated as wise. That's why intelligent men learn emotional intelligence before intellectual arrogance. They understand that truth is not about honesty, it's about impact. If your truth doesn't create movement, clarity, or control, keep it. If your honesty weakens your influence, delay it. If your silence makes you unpredictable, use it. You owe no one full access to your mind. You owe only alignment with your goals. That doesn't mean living deceitfully. It means understanding that the world doesn't reward raw honesty. It rewards strategic honesty. There's a difference between lying and leading perception. One serves chaos. The other serves purpose. The wise man knows when to speak truth as a weapon and when to bury it as leverage. You don't owe the world transparency. You owe yourself strategy. Every piece of truth you reveal should either strengthen your position or weaken your opposition. This is what the naive man never understands. He believes that being truthful earns trust. But in reality, trust is not built through honesty. It's built through control of expectation. People don't follow the most truthful leader. They follow the one who makes them feel secure. And sometimes that illusion of security is the most powerful truth of all. So you must decide, do you want to appear good or do you want to be effective? Because the two rarely coexist. There will be moments when silence will protect you more than truth ever could. There will be times when a small deception will win you more loyalty than brutal honesty. And there will always be those who call that amoral, but those are the same people who live under systems built on lies they refuse to see. The difference between fools and strategists is that fools believe honesty makes them pure. Strategists know truth is a weapon, sharpened, concealed, and used only when victory demands it. So stop worshiping truth as an ideal. Start using it as a tool, because in the end, your words are not sacred. They are instruments of power, and the moment you understand that, you stop being honest for approval and start being calculated for dominance. 3. People don't want smart men, they want predictable ones. Society claims to celebrate intelligence, but only the kind it can control. Schools, governments, corporations, religions, they all pretend to shape thinkers, but what they really shape are obedient systems. Predictable, agreeable, easily programmed minds that follow the script without ever questioning who wrote it. A truly intelligent man is not celebrated, he's silenced. Because real intelligence is dangerous. It questions everything authority builds its power upon. Look at how the system rewards you. Get good grades, memorize, comply, never question, and you'll be successful. But the moment you start thinking for yourself, questioning rules, patterns, motives, you're labeled difficult, arrogant, or rebellious. That's not by accident. That's by design. The world doesn't want thinkers. It wants workers. It doesn't want minds that analyze. It wants minds that obey. The system's survival depends on your predictability, because a man who can be predicted can be controlled. You wake up at the same time, consume the same media, buy the same products, repeat the same cycle, all while thinking you're free. But your habits are programmed, your opinions are manufactured, and your choices were presented to you by people who profit from your patterns. This is why truly intelligent men often live on the edges of society. They see too clearly. They understand too deeply. They realize that most of what people call normal life is just a highly organized form of slavery, one maintained through entertainment, fear, and convenience. It's easier to control a man who believes he's already free. That's why society conditions you to fear rejection, because the moment you stop seeking approval, you become uncontrollable. The moment you stop reacting to validation, you start thinking independently. And that's the moment they lose you. The intelligent man's curse is that he sees patterns others ignore. He sees how education turns minds into machines. He sees how media turns truth into theater. He sees how governments use chaos to sell control. And when he speaks, the world calls him paranoid, not because he's wrong, but because he's right too early. People don't want their illusions shattered. They want comfort. They want to believe life is simple, fair, and safe. The smart man is the one who ruins that illusion, and for that, society isolates him. That's why you'll notice they cheer intelligence in theory, but fear it in practice. They'll celebrate Einstein when he's dead, but ridicule the modern thinker who challenges today's narrative. They'll post quotes about free thinking, but attack you for questioning their beliefs. So understand this: you will never be rewarded for thinking differently by the very system built to keep you the same. The price of intelligence is alienation. The reward of intelligence is liberation. Most people choose the first path because fitting in feels safe. But the Machiavellian mind chooses the second, because safety without freedom is just a prettier form of prison. So stop seeking acceptance. Start cultivating unpredictability. Be the man whose moves can't be anticipated. The one who can blend into the crowd, but think above it. Because unpredictability is power. It keeps people cautious, off balance, unable to categorize you. The moment people can predict you, they can manage you. But when they can't, they start respecting you. They start fearing you. Because control cannot exist where uncertainty thrives. You don't owe the world predictability. You owe yourself mastery. Stop trying to fit into a society designed to contain you. Start building a mind sharp enough to outthink it. Because the truth is this: the world doesn't hate intelligence. It hates uncontrolled intelligence. And the moment you realize that you stop begging to be understood and start enjoying being feared, that's when your intellect becomes power, not performance, not approval, power. And that's when you finally understand the rule all great minds live by. The goal is not to be liked. It's to be unpredictable enough that no one dares to underestimate you again. 4. Knowledge means nothing without emotional detachment. You can read every book, master every concept, and quote every philosopher. But if you can't master your own emotions, you're still a slave. Intelligence without detachment is fragility disguised as wisdom. Because the moment someone can provoke you, they own you. The world doesn't need to outsmart you to defeat you. It just needs to trigger you. Think about that. The man who knows everything but cannot control his anger, envy, or pride will still kneel before the one who can stay calm while the fire burns around him. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Emotion is the easiest path to manipulation. A ruler could control armies and empires, but if he couldn't control his temper, he was still a pawn to his own impulses. That's why the most dangerous minds in history weren't just intelligent. They were indifferent. Their genius came from distance, from cold observation, from an ability to study the world like a chessboard, not a battlefield. Because emotion is noise, and noise clouds judgment. Look around you. Intelligence is common now. Everyone has access to information. Everyone can sound smart, but very few can stay composed when insulted, rejected, or misunderstood. That's the difference between intellectuals and strategists. One collects ideas, the other controls outcomes. The intelligent man who cannot detach emotionally becomes addicted to validation. He debates endlessly online to prove his intelligence. He reacts to every disagreement like it's an attack. He confuses emotional defense with logical strength and loses every time. Meanwhile, the detached man doesn't explain. He observes. He lets others expose their emotions while he measures their weakness. Because in every confrontation, the first one to feel too deeply loses too quickly. Emotional detachment is not numbness. It's clarity. It's seeing the move behind the move, the motive behind the mask. It's realizing that the loudest emotion in the room often hides the deepest insecurity. When you stop being reactive, you start becoming unreadable. And when you're unreadable, you become untouchable. That's why the calm man always wins. Not because he's emotionless, but because he chooses when to use emotion like a weapon, not a reflex. Detachment is what allows you to think while others panic. It's what turns conflict into calculation. It's what separates the men who feel powerful from the men who are powerful. Most people live like emotional mirrors, reflecting whatever energy they're given. Someone disrespects them, they react. Someone doubts them, they overprove. Someone mocks them, they lash out. But the detached mind doesn't mirror chaos. It absorbs it and turns it into leverage. He lets people expose their character while he hides his strategy. He doesn't seek to win arguments, he seeks to own the frame. That's why the fool who feels nothing often defeats the genius who feels too much. Because emotion blinds even the sharpest mind, and detachment frees even the simplest one. The truth is, intelligence without discipline is dangerous only to yourself. It creates anxiety, overthinking, obsession. You see too much, feel too much, and react too soon. You become the victim of your own awareness. But once you pair that awareness with detachment, your intelligence becomes lethal. You start seeing how people reveal themselves through emotion. How every insult, outburst, and complaint is a confession of weakness. And how staying calm is the most devastating move you can make. Because nothing unnerves an emotional person more than someone who refuses to feel what they want you to feel. That's when your calm becomes dominance, when your silence becomes control, and when your intelligence becomes a weapon, not a wound. So understand this. Knowledge without detachment is a liability. It feeds your ego, not your power. You don't need to know more, you need to feel less. Detach from the noise. Detach from the opinions. Detach from the desire to prove, to win, to be right. Because once you can stay calm while the world provokes you, you stop playing their game. You become the board itself. And in that stillness, you find the purest form of control. The ability to think clearly when everyone else is burning alive in their emotions. That's not apathy. That's mastery. And every man who seeks true intelligence must learn this truth. It's not what you know that gives you power. It's what and who you can stay calm about. 5. Perception is stronger than reality. The world doesn't run on truth. It runs on perception, and those who understand that rule it. You can be right, moral, even brilliant, and still lose to the one who simply appears right, moral, and brilliant. Because people don't follow truth. They follow the illusion that makes them feel safe. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. For everyone can see, but few can feel. He knew that power doesn't belong to the honest. It belongs to the convincing. Reality might shape the world, but perception shapes how the world reacts to you. That's why the strongest minds don't waste time proving the truth. They design how the truth looks. You see it every day. A confident fool gets more respect than a hesitant genius. A calm liar earns more trust than an emotional truth-teller. And a man who speaks with certainty can move nations, even when his words are built on nothing but performance. Because in human psychology, truth doesn't matter until it's believed. That's why most people lose when they argue. They think the goal is to convince through logic. But logic doesn't sway emotion, image does. Tone does. Composure does. The illusion of certainty does. The Machiavellian doesn't care about being right. He cares about appearing inevitable. You can scream the truth and look weak doing it, or whisper a lie with calm conviction and watch people follow it. Because humans trust confidence over content. It's not fair, but it's real. The wise man learns to weaponize this reality instead of fighting it. He crafts perception like an artist. He lets others see only what he wants them to see, never the full picture. He speaks selectively, moves deliberately, reveals strategically. Every gesture, every silence, every glance becomes part of the illusion. Because when you understand that perception is stronger than reality, you stop seeking validation and start engineering belief. You begin to realize the most powerful man is not the one who has control, but the one who looks like he does. People project competence onto stillness. They project confidence onto certainty. They project strength onto restraint. And so the Machiavellian uses minimal movement, measured words, and mystery as armor. He doesn't expose the chaos behind his calm, because the world doesn't need the truth of his struggle. It only needs the image of his composure. That's how kings rule, not through transparency, but through theater. The crown is not power, it's the symbol of power. But the world worships the symbol more than the substance. That's why the truly intelligent don't argue their worth. They display it through their silence, their posture, their aura. Perception is psychological gravity. It pulls weaker minds into orbit without them ever realizing it. And once you understand this, once you see how humans willingly submit to what looks powerful, you begin to control the invisible strings behind every interaction. The irony? The man obsessed with truth is often a prisoner to it. He wastes his energy proving facts while his enemies rewrite the narrative. He fights for reality while they reshape perception. That's why Machiavelli warned rulers. It is not necessary to have all the virtues, but to appear to have them. Appear calm when you're plotting. Appear weak when you're watching. Appear kind when you're calculating. And by the time they realize who you really are, it's already too late. This isn't deception. It's adaptation. Because the world doesn't care what you truly are, only what you seem to be. So master your image. Learn how you're seen. Build your reputation like a weapon, not a reflection. Your perception must move before your words do. Your energy must speak before your logic arrives. Your presence must make people believe before they understand why. That's how you control the game without playing it. You manipulate emotion while appearing emotionless. You influence decisions without ever making a demand. And the deeper truth, once perception becomes your tool, you can bend reality itself. Because when enough people believe a version of you, that version becomes true. That's the final stage of power, when illusion solidifies into fact, when myth becomes memory, when your reputation walks into rooms before you do and wins battles you'll never have to fight. The fool chases truth. The wise man designs perception. Because in a world blinded by appearances, only those who control what's seen ever touch what's real. 6. Manipulation is just influence without the guilt. Every conversation you've ever had was a power exchange, whether you knew it or not. There's no such thing as a neutral interaction. Someone always walks away slightly more in control. Most people hate that truth. They call it manipulation. They tell themselves they're above it. But what they really mean is, I don't want to feel responsible for how much power I've given away. Machiavelli would laugh at that kind of morality. Because power doesn't disappear when you refuse to use it. It just transfers to someone who will. You can call it persuasion. You can call it charm. You can call it leadership. But at its core, it's all the same act, bending reality through influence. The difference between manipulation and influence isn't ethics. It's awareness. Manipulators know they're shaping perception. The good people pretend they're not, and then wonder why they keep getting outplayed. You've been conditioned to believe that purity equals virtue, that being nice, honest, and transparent makes you righteous. But that's not how the world works. The world rewards those who can move people, not those who merely mean well. Look around. Every politician manipulates emotion to gain votes. Every brand manipulates desire to gain sales. Every preacher manipulates guilt to gain loyalty. And every lover manipulates affection to gain power. We don't live in a moral world. We live in a psychological one. So the Machiavellian doesn't waste time asking, is this right? He asks, does this give me control? He understands that manipulation is simply strategic communication. The difference is intent, not method. When you flatter someone, you're not lying, you're planting a seed. When you remain silent, you're not ignoring, you're forcing discomfort to grow. When you redirect blame, you're not avoiding, you're managing the emotional battlefield. Weak men see manipulation as deceit. Wise men see it as design. And here's the paradox. Those who manipulate consciously are often less dangerous than those who manipulate unconsciously. The man who denies his own influence is the most dangerous kind, because he has no idea what he's doing with the power he holds. The world is filled with people trying to do the right thing and accidentally destroying relationships, reputations, and empires because they don't understand the psychology of power. But when you understand manipulation, you don't have to use it cruelly. You can use it surgically. You learn how to guide emotion without aggression, how to redirect chaos without confrontation, how to make people agree with you and think it was their own idea. That's the highest form of influence, invisible control. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so obedient to present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived." He wasn't glorifying deceit. He was describing human nature, the predictable way emotion overrides logic every single time. People don't follow truth. They follow feeling. They don't want honesty. They want certainty. They don't crave morality. They crave meaning. And whoever provides that meaning, even falsely, becomes their master. That's why the moral high ground is where weak men go to die. They stand there, proud of their integrity, while others reshape the world around them. They preach honesty, while the Machiavellian rewrites the rules in silence. Morality without strategy is self-sabotage. And guilt is the chain that keeps powerful minds enslaved. Because guilt is just control turned inward. It's the emotional weapon the system uses to keep you obedient. Every time you feel guilty for asserting power, you surrender it. Every time you doubt your intentions, someone else's influence fills the gap. The calm strategist knows this. Influence doesn't require lies. It requires direction. You don't need to deceive people. Just understand what they want to believe and become the one who delivers it. You're not manipulating their reality. You're guiding their perception. That's not evil. That's nature. The lion doesn't apologize for stalking its prey. The general doesn't apologize for using deception to win wars. So why should you apologize for understanding the mechanics of human behavior? Because at the end of the day, manipulation is neither good nor bad. It's a neutral force. Like fire, it can cook your food or burn your home, depending on how it's used. The difference between the cunning and the naive is not morality, it's mastery. The Machiavellian doesn't feel guilt for using power effectively. He feels guilt for wasting it. He doesn't use people recklessly, he uses influence precisely, because he knows control is not taken through strength, but through subtlety. The moment you stop seeking moral validation and start seeking psychological understanding, you step out of the herd and into the realm of the strategist. And in that realm there is no manipulation, only movement. No deceit, only design. No guilt, only clarity. Because once you understand human nature, you stop playing fair. You start playing flawless. 7. Charm is the mask of intelligence. True intelligence hides in plain sight. It doesn't boast. It doesn't demand attention. It seduces it. The sharpest men don't walk into a room announcing their brilliance. They walk in and make others feel brilliant. Because charm isn't about impressing people. It's about disarming them. That's the first law of subtle power. When you make someone feel seen, they stop looking at you. Charm is the most elegant disguise intelligence can wear. It's the soft voice of control, the velvet glove that hides the iron hand. Most people mistake charm for sincerity. They think it's emotional warmth, kindness, or charisma. But that's the illusion. Charm isn't sincerity, it's strategy. It's how intelligent men navigate emotional minefields without triggering alarms. It's how they influence without appearing to lead, persuade without appearing to push, and dominate without appearing to fight. Because when you're charming, resistance evaporates. People want to agree with you. They want to open up. They want to believe your motives are pure. That's why the greatest manipulators in history weren't loud, they were likable. And the most dangerous intelligence is the one wrapped in a smile. The Machiavellian understands this perfectly. He knows that raw intelligence intimidates, but charm seduces. And seduction always conquers faster than force. Charm is psychological judo, using someone's emotional momentum to your advantage. You never fight head-on. You redirect. A question here, a compliment there, a well-timed silence. It's not about words, it's about rhythm. Charm is rhythm. It's timing. It's emotional calibration. The charming man doesn't reveal his hand. He lets others reveal theirs. He doesn't rush to fill silence. He makes others uncomfortable enough to do it first. He doesn't dominate conversation. He guides it invisibly, like a puppeteer whose strings no one can see. People often assume charm comes from confidence, but that's only half true. Charm comes from control, emotional control. The ability to stay calm while everyone else chases validation. That's why most nice guys fail at charm. They confuse approval with influence. They want to be liked. The Machiavellian wants to be trusted, because being liked makes you popular. Being trusted makes you powerful. Trust gives you access. Access gives you leverage. Leverage gives you control. And control, not love, is the real goal of charm. That's the secret most people miss. Charm isn't emotional honesty. It's emotional direction. You don't express feelings, you engineer them. You don't reveal truth, you reveal what's useful. The Machiavellian doesn't waste energy on raw emotion. He crafts experiences. Every word, tone, and glance is intentional. Even his silence feels meaningful. He's not pretending to be nice. He's performing precision empathy. He knows exactly when to smile, when to nod, when to mirror someone's posture. Every move whispers, "You can trust me." By the time his target realizes the depth of his mind, it's too late. They're already caught in the web willingly. Charm turns intelligence from a weapon of intimidation into a weapon of seduction. It transforms raw intellect into emotional gravity. That's why the wisest men appear harmless. They let fools underestimate them. They make arrogance feel comfortable. They make enemies reveal strategy. They make allies reveal weakness. Charm blinds people to power, and that blindness is the beginning of control. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn not to be good, but to appear good when needed. Charm is that appearance. It's the theater of virtue, the illusion of warmth that hides a calculating core. You don't win influence by showing strength. You win it by making others feel safe enough to lower theirs. The charming man never competes, he collaborates. He never resists, he redirects. He never threatens, he suggests. He knows that people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And if you can control what they feel, you control what they believe. That's how entire empires are built. Not through war, but through likability. Charm is diplomacy in its purest form. Victory without violence. But make no mistake, it's still warfare. It's just fought in smiles and subtleties, in gestures and tone, in warmth that conceals strategy. To the untrained, charm looks like friendliness. To the Machiavellian, it's camouflage. So never mistake the gentle for the harmless. The charming man isn't there to connect. He's there to conquer without resistance. And that's what makes him unstoppable. Because brute intelligence can be challenged. But charm walks through every door untouched. It's the mask of intelligence and the mark of true power. 8. Ruthless clarity. The final stage of intelligence. Genius isn't found in complexity. It's found in clarity, the brutal kind that burns away comfort, illusion, and ego until only truth remains. Most people claim to want truth, but they don't. They want reassurance. They want stories that make their failures acceptable, lies that make their weakness feel noble. True genius rejects that entirely. It doesn't seek comfort, it seeks reality, and reality is rarely kind. Ruthless clarity is the final stage of intelligence because it demands total detachment, not just from emotion, but from identity itself. It's the death of self-deception. You stop needing to believe you're good. You stop needing to believe life is fair. You stop needing validation from the crowd. You start to see things exactly as they are. And when you do, you stop being shocked by anything. Betrayal doesn't surprise you. Hypocrisy doesn't anger you. Failure doesn't destroy you. Because you expected it all, not out of cynicism, but from clarity. The fool suffers twice. First from the event and again from their illusion of how it should have been. The genius suffers once and then adjusts. Ruthless clarity strips away the fog of should. It kills entitlement. It ends emotional paralysis. You stop waiting for fairness, love, or understanding. You start dealing with what's real. That's what separates thinkers from manipulators, and manipulators from masters. The master doesn't react to the world, he calculates it. He sees every system for what it is, fragile, emotional, and easily influenced by perception. He knows most men are too attached to their illusions to ever act with power. They need moral stories to justify action. They need collective approval to feel right. They need permission to move. But the man of ruthless clarity doesn't ask. He moves anyway. He doesn't need to be seen as good. He just needs to be effective. Because in the end, morality doesn't decide outcomes. Strategy does. Nature doesn't reward purity. It rewards adaptability. The intelligent man who clings to ideals over results becomes a philosopher without influence, a thinker with no teeth. The Machiavellian with ruthless clarity becomes a strategist, calm, sharp, and unstoppable. Ruthless clarity means knowing exactly what you're capable of and what you're not. It's self-awareness stripped of ego. You don't lie to yourself about your strengths. You don't exaggerate your weaknesses. You see yourself with the same cold precision you see the world. That's power, because self-deception is the root of all defeat. The moment you start lying to yourself, telling yourself you're trying your best, being patient, or doing what's right, you've already surrendered to illusion. The world isn't moved by excuses. It's moved by results. And only ruthless clarity gets results. It teaches you that intelligence isn't about knowing everything. It's about seeing through anything. Through lies, through flattery, through fear, through your own bias. The fool asks, what feels true? The genius asks, what is true? And then he acts without hesitation, without emotion, without apology. Because emotion clouds the battlefield, and illusion kills precision. Clarity, on the other hand, turns life into a chessboard. You see the pieces. You see the patterns. And you stop wishing they were different. You just play the game better. That's what ruthless clarity does. It transforms chaos into coordinates, pain into data, loss into leverage. You no longer take things personally because you've outgrown the illusion of fairness. You no longer argue with fools because you've realized they need delusion to survive. You no longer chase validation because you've learned that truth and approval never coexist. You simply observe, adapt, and advance. The highest form of intelligence is not empathy. It's not creativity. It's not knowledge. It's clarity, because clarity breeds calm. Calm breeds precision, and precision wins wars. Ruthless clarity is what allows the strategist to smile while others panic, to act while others overthink, to move forward while others drown in emotion. It's not coldness, it's control. The world calls it ruthless because it refuses to entertain delusion. But to those who master it, it's freedom. Freedom from confusion. Freedom from noise. Freedom from the fragile emotions that destroy focus. When you see life exactly as it is, you stop wishing and start building. You stop seeking luck and start creating advantage. You stop hoping for change and become the change. That's what makes ruthless clarity divine. It's not the absence of humanity, it's the evolution of it. Because only when you've killed illusion can you start shaping reality itself. And that not morality, not emotion, is the true mark of genius. If you've made it this far, you already know intelligence isn't about IQ or degrees. It's about control. Control of perception. Control of emotion. Control of how others move around your silent influence. The truly dangerous mind isn't loud. It's surgical. It cuts through illusion and sees systems, patterns, and motives where others only see chaos. You don't argue with fools. You don't beg for truth. You weaponize understanding and bend the world to your will. But remember, once you see clearly, there's no going back. Because ruthless intelligence isolates you from the herd, but it also frees you from it. If this video woke something up in you, if it sharpened your perception or made you question what you've been told, comment your thoughts below and tell me what truth hit hardest. And if you're ready to keep evolving beyond mediocrity, subscribe, not for entertainment, but for transformation. Welcome to the circle of dangerous minds.